Modeling with trigonometric functions. There are several things we use to describe sine and cosine functions. The altitude is how much a function has been stretched or compressed vertically. How tall is it? So how that's going to look is we will have the function y equals a times sine of x, or we will have y equals a times the cosine of x. A, the absolute value of a, would be your altitude. All right, and now the period is the length of the interval the function goes through before it repeats. So what this means is we will find our period by what is multiplied on the inside. So we have y equals a times the sine of bx, or we will have y equals a times the cosine of bx. B would be what we call the period. And we can find that length by taking 2 pi and dividing it by b. And next one is a cycle. The cycle is the interval that the graph will go through until it repeats. Okay, so how we're going to write that is our c over b is going to be less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 2 pi over b. All right, and that'll make more sense in a minute here. The last thing we can do is a phase shift. The phase shift is the distance the function has been translated, left or right, or up or down if it's added on the outside. Okay, the phase shift is going to be y equals a times the sine of bx minus c, or y equals a times the cosine of bx minus c. C is your phase shift, how much it is being moved, and that is going to be shifted. C over b is going to be the amount you are shifting it. Now we're going to do some examples where we find the altitude, period, cycle, and phase shift of a given trigonometric function. So this first one, we have f of x equals 1/2 sine of x minus pi over 3. All right, so the first thing we look at is our altitude. Our altitude is our absolute value of whatever is multiplied on the outside. So that would be the absolute value of 1/2, which is 1/2. So my altitude is 1/2. The period is how far the graph is going to travel before it starts repeating itself. So to find my period, I'm going to take 2 pi and I'm going to divide it by my b. Well, my b is whatever is multiplied to the x, which in this case is 1. So 2 pi over 1, which is just 2 pi. So my period is 2 pi. And now the cycle is going to be similar to that, except we want to actually find the endpoint of our cycle. So for the cycle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set x minus pi over 3, whatever's in here, you're going to set equal to 0 and 2 pi. And then we just solve those for x. So x equals pi over 3 to x equals 2 pi plus pi over 3, which if you simplify that, x equals 7 pi over 3. Okay, so that means my cycle is from pi over 3 to 7 pi over 3. All right, and finally the phase shift. When we're looking for the phase shift, we're thinking how far is it being shifted over? And to find that, we are going to take the phase shift is going to equal your C over your B. So my C is pi over 3 divided by 1, pi over 3. So that is my phase shift, pi over 3. And that's your final answer. And the last example here, f of x equals -3 cosine of 2 pi x plus pi over 4. Okay, so my altitude, the absolute value of A, absolute value of -3 is equal to 3, so my altitude is 3. My period is how far it's going to travel before it repeats. To find the period, you take 2 pi, and you divide it by whatever's multiplied by the x, which is 2 pi. So that's going to be 2 pi over 2 pi, which is obviously 1. So my period is going to be 1. To find my cycle, that is an interval. So I'm going to set whatever's inside equal to 0 and equal to 2 pi. So 2 pi x plus 4 pi equals 0. So I'm going to subtract the 4 pi and then divide by 2 pi. So I have x equals -4 pi divided by 2 pi. Pi's cancel. 4 divided by 2 is 2 equals -2. So that is the beginning of my cycle is at -2. And the end of my cycle, I need to have 2 pi x plus 4 pi equals 2 pi. Subtract the 4 pi, and I get, and then divide by 2 pi, I have x equals -2 pi divided by 2 pi, which is equal to -1. So that's the other end of my interval. And finally, I need to find the phase shift. So to find the phase shift, I'm going to take whatever my C is and divide it by my B. So my C is 4 pi divided by my B, which is 2 pi. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so my phase shift is 2. And that's your final answer. Those are your notes over modeling with trigonometric functions and how you understand what the different things do to a function and what the terminology is used around that. Go through the practice problems to make sure you understand this material, then you can move on.